Alright, we're back with our figure, and we're going to keep coming back with him. I wish I would have, I thought about this. How many times, I wish I would have learned carving when I was a young man, maybe a teenager and stuff. I would have loved to known how to carve back then. I wasted so much time doing things that meant nothing, and now I'm 63 years old. But I wish I'd have started learning carving a long time ago and enjoyed it. Flat plane carving. And that's what 90% of everything I do is flat plane. Just done with a knife. Alright, let's go to the face. Let's go ahead and get our... You've seen me do this now. I'm going to go ahead and start up here. I'm going to go ahead and make a cut down like that. This is, I usually center the nose, but I know which way my nose is going to be. And then I come around like that and come down like that. I hate to be, I'm not really, what worries, I've heard from a lot of carvers go, boy, you don't measure out stuff. No, I don't. I just I'll make a cut across here and work it out from there. In other words, I'm not a real precise type person. I mean, that's why I love flat plane carving, because I leave the cuts in a lot. No, it's not for everybody. I know, but I love it. Because I love the way it looks, and I love the way to carve it. Alright, let's go ahead and make our nose somewhere around in there. We're going to cut across, underneath. And then we're going to cut on both sides. Take a little bit out there with the push cut. Take a little bit out there. Cut back on that nose a little bit. Oh, yeah, I don't have to have it that long. Just gonna always remember the nose is the center point of your face, and that's where I start. The center point of the face, and then we kind of see a lot of guys can't carve, and they want to have everything just perfect. I'm not anywhere like that. I am not. I love the hands a little bit bigger, something like that. And of course, that's what makes a caricature. That's what I love about it. All right. I'm going to go ahead and come down and make the ear. Okay, I'm going to cut that down right there, and I'm going to cut this back in here a little bit, and I'm going to run another little thing on the ear here and remove that with the tip of my knife with the push cut. That's what people, when they see me carving, they go, oh, I just couldn't learn to do that. But like I said, when you learn the 3 basic cuts, and anybody can learn that. I remember that little 13-year-old I was teaching. By the end of the first lesson, he had I think the push cut, this cut right here, is probably the most difficult for them to learn, because they just not like that way. Usually you want to cut, but you're just taking the thumb and just pushing the knife like this. But once they pick it up, they don't forget it. That's the simplest cut. And then in time you learn, okay, there's the ear. In time you learn to not put as much pressure on it. You learn you don't put as much pressure on something and work it like that. With Max, who I'm teaching now from my church, Max is 14 now. He was 13 when he began. And it took him a little time to learn the push cut. He just, just that you got to get the hands right. But once you learn it, like I said, it's no big deal. And he's picked it up now. I don't even have to tell him anything. And those are the 3 cuts that I use. If you master those 3 cuts, you can carve. Or whittle. Maybe that's not what I need to say. It's just whittle. Cut into there. It just looks difficult when you see someone doing it and say, oh, wow, I just can't do it. And a lot of people, one of the biggest things they say is patience. I just don't have that kind of patience. You'd be surprised what you have patience for. You'd be surprised. People have patience for some of the silliest things, but they say, well, I don't think I'd have the patience for to do that. Of course, I know we live in a fast-paced world. I understand that. Everybody wants it now. Fast foods and fast this. But carving is not fast. It takes a little time to get everything going. But if you love it, enjoy doing it, you do. Okay. And that's why I love the little figures, because you can carve so many variations of figures. All right, let's put this down and make a age cut here. I'll show people sometimes how to carve a face, and there's little age cuts just like this, and they'll be just dumbfounded. That's all it takes sometimes. I have him kind of frowning. I think I'm going to put a cigarette in his mouth. Like that. Okay. Bring this in some. Bring that in some. Okay, getting that down. I'll come in here and remove a little bit of wood in there as we. Let me cut in between these crouch in there. Yeah, we got to figure out what kind of clothes we want to put on him. I want to make him kind of a little hobo vagabond a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and come across here with a, just kind of like a little jacket. Cut there. Come in here and remove that. There we go. See, I use the tip of my knife a lot, just like this. I do. Okay, here, get this. I think a lot of times I find in teaching young people or teaching people to carve, one of the biggest flaws that they have to really get used to is the grain. To understand that when you feel that knife catching, you turn and go the other way. And I think that is the thing about carving that is the hardest, is the grain issue. And that you have to get used to. You just have to get used to it and work with it, because the grain will turn on you, and you will get and if you don't turn the knife, then you're going to break it. And I think that's the hardest thing. Not so much the cuts, but it's learning the grain issue. Now, luckily, basswood doesn't have a lot of grain, so we're in pretty good shape there. But it still can turn on you. I remember I was carving an alligator one time, and the alligator was fine until I came to the tail. And that tail, the grain changed about 4 or 5 times in it, and you really had to be careful. You really had to. Okay. And let me go ahead and shape this a little bit. Bring that up like that and cut a little, so I can separate the arm and the little, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut the hand here. You want to be careful now, and because this is a delicate area, don't want to put too much pressure. And that's another thing, applying the pressure. That's why I don't start people off with miniatures, because they get confused in the pressure. And as we all know, the pressure that you put on your knife has a lot to do with you breaking. You know, if I come down here and just you know, just start putting pressure on the feet, well, I'm gonna break them off. So that's another thing that's very challenging in carving, until you can carve a while and find out, is how much pressure do I put on my knife. And I know with these miniatures how much to put on them, and how thin it gets and all that other stuff. So that's a very difficult thing to learn, is pressure. Of course, when you get around the face like this, and excuse me, around the face and the nose and all that stuff. You don't want to just rah, 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 you know, because what you'll do, you'll break it, and you don't want to. Like right here, this little hand, I know that it can break. So look at that. I just barely taking slivers off. And so many people write me and say, well, you know, I don't understand. I broke my piece. Is it my knife? Well, sometimes it is, but most of the time what it is just, it's the pressure that people are putting on their knives to get to, and they think that if they, you know, when I'm doing this, I can put as much pressure as I want to around this area. But when it comes to, you know, small areas, you don't want to put much pressure. And that's how most people break. That's how most people end up breaking their pieces and stuff, until they can pick up and work. That's why carving requires such practice. I'm not trying to overtalk you here. I'm just trying to explain to you that on these pieces here, of course, I don't put the kind of pressure, and I don't take, a lot of people want to take a lot of wood off, and most experienced carvers know that it's in the rough out period, you know, you can, but in the actual carving period, you want to be very, very careful. I'm going to go ahead and do this for the shoes. You have to be very, very careful, especially when you go down 3-inch characters or 2-inch characters or whatever. It's just not feasible. See, just very, very light pressure that you put. And most people, what they do, they put too much pressure, and when they do, they break the piece. And they think it's the knife a lot of times. And it's not always the knife. And the knife has to be sharp. But it's the pressure that you're putting on that piece. And true, the knife has to be sharp, so you won't have to put so much pressure on it. Okay, we're going to come back, and we're going to finish this little guy up. Finish him up, and then we're gonna put a little sign in his hand, and it's gonna say, "I'm not guilty. It's not me," or whatever it is. In other words, as he stands. That's why I said I love to. Let's see. Let's look at his hair for a minute. Let's just go ahead and part his hair over on this side. So it just takes time, and it takes you doing some carving. And that's one of the biggest problems I've found with people in their carving. They want to put as much pressure on a small figure as a larger figure, and when they do, they're going to break the figure. Simple as that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, we're going to come back and finish him, and I'm going to get the other piece. Okay. All right. God bless you now. This will be our 9th figure, and our little, and the last one in our little police lineup.